Alrighty, folks, Corporal Hot Pockets and Cancel Anime here are back with the Orbital Drop podcast crew. Today we'll be giving our brief thoughts on Halo, the Halo TV show episode 1, and basically how we thought it went. And the main things we want to point out, the main things I was thinking about are the differences between the timeline, as well as the small character details that make this unpopular, so to say. So the main timeline differences that kind of bug me are the fact that everything's been truncated and just pushed back 20 something years. So this is the planet of Madrigal. As we find out later throughout the episode, is that pretty much these guys are in the early stages, very early stages of the Human Covenant War. The insurrection is still a major force. The Covenant are largely hearsay. The Spartans are known. But they're mostly known for fighting terrorists, and we get this from several character interactions between the Insurrectionists and the humans and the Spartans themselves, as this old Scottish guy is about to go on about. So we have the timeline is truncated massively towards the end of the Human Covenant War, but with the events of all over the timeline, most closely aligning with the very beginning. And this just kind of makes the whole thing kind of wonky and hard to get a feel for as a veteran Halo fan like myself. Um, Overall, when looking at the creative design and the artwork and the props and stuff, they look all right. Although these rebels definitely have a far bigger vibe of nomads, Middle Eastern nomads, rather than militia rebels and such. They have their small little encampment here. What they're doing is processing fuel and shipping it upwards and away.
I wonder if these guys like flying pelicans into space elevators.
Yeah, exactly. What we're talking about, that nomadic Middle Eastern vibe. The Covenant looks all right. I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't see any other Covenant species attacking. It's just elites, which is not the norm. Normally, the elites would act as squad leaders. This is something that people pointed out is the use of modern-day era weapons like the AK-47, miniguns, that kind of stuff in this futuristic setting, and how people say that it makes no sense that they would be using these kinds of weapons from hundreds of years in the future. And while I definitely see what they're saying, to me, it's not quite that stupid. As if people were using guns from 600 years ago nowadays. The technological difference between a musket from 600 years ago and nowadays is huge. But an AK-47 versus the Halo Assault Rifle, they are rather comparable. Yes, the Halo Assault Rifle has a digital ammo counter, and it's probably bigger, and it does fire a more powerful round, 760 by 51 millimeters versus 760 by 39. But they're both still fully automatic assault rifles with similar size magazines, similar size damage profiles. If you're a person and you're shot by both, they're both gonna kill you, almost certainly. So it's yeah. Now that's the question though. Why still use these kinds of weapons? Shouldn't they all be in museums? Shouldn't they all be it's like even if the guns are effective, how difficult would it be for these folks to acquire these super old weapons? And honestly, not that difficult. The AK-47 has been exported all around the world. It's been developed and built all over the world by all sorts of different forces. So to me, it's not at all surprising that colonists setting up on a new planet would develop domestic productions of weapons and ammo. And
the question is, will they use the AK?
Honestly, I really do think so, because the AK has just been so renowned around the world. It's been used by so many grassroots, rebel movements all across, especially the Third World, which is what these folks are meant to be an analog for. Now, as for the Covenant, the elites look pretty good for the most part. The CGI can be a bit jarring at times, but their size and ferocity seems pretty all right. The weapon, the damage that their plasma weapons do does seem a bit ridiculous at times. The plasma rifle, it's not going to obliterate people and cut people in half. It may it does leave some serious burn marks, and it may kill people in 1 or 2 shots, which we do see. But some of the earlier scenes of people getting just utterly incinerated, it's just, you're not going to get that from the plasma rifle. It's by elite standards, it's a small one-handed weapon, probably equivalent to something like a large pistol. Like, probably a good analog would be like a revolver or a submachine gun for human standards. It's like a single-handed weapon for them. But still, the elites, very ferocious, very scary. They said earlier that there were 20 elites, and we can see how 20 well-armed and armored elites are easily able to mop the floor with 150 insurgents. these insurgents, and yeah, this right here is what I think is a better portrayal for what elite plasma rifle damage should be like. Now, of course, the the elite the elites seem pretty well done. The Spartans look, they got some problems.
And then I started to feel confused.
Master Chief looks pretty good.
The elite
And I lost
seem far too
consciousness.
overpowered. Like just
When I
the
awoke,
sheer amount of numbers of
he was gone.
insurrectionists firing at the
Right.
elite. No way they're tanking all that shit, especially
Right.
from a minigun.
Exactly, and that's something that, like right here, we saw the guy unload, what was it, like 10, 15 rounds of
David saved
7.62
many,
into that
many
elite without, and the elite didn't even flinch. That does not seem right. Now here the Spartans show
Oh,
up.
but then Chief
seized
comes
vital
in and
technology.
he can easily do it.
Right, and again, we're talking about the technological difference. These guns are rather similar. Like it should not make that big of a difference. Now, of course, when it comes to the Spartans and their portrayal on the show, they were pretty all right. Although I'm very disappointed that we did not see regular blue team. We instead get discount blue team, where we have Black Fred. Was Linda the one with the dyed hair, and Kelly is a techie. For some reason. Overall, the Spartans do their job, but they're not blue team. They never will be. Yes, I know they're technically silver team, but it's like their legacy. Regardless, the Spartans are able to mop the floor pretty well. Now later on, we get Oni. We get to Dr. Halsey, and well, I don't find the fact that she's British and stuff that big of a problem. People complain that she looks too young. Honestly, for 2552, she should be in her 60s. Yes, she does look
like she's in her early 40s.
Yeah, she does look like she's in her early 40s, which again, that doesn't line up with the official canon's age. But again, because the way the timeline has been truncated, honestly, her being in her early 40s does actually seem pretty consistent. The fact that she's blonde and British, that doesn't really detract too much from me as well, because yeah, it's like I get this is Dr. Halsey, she's the scientist behind the Spartan program. So now, of course, we got Margaret Parangoski, who's Indian for some reason. That just, to me, this comes out of nowhere. We see this with quite a few characters that they have been race swapped. They've either been completely replaced by different characters, or they've been race swapped so that they are completely different characters with the same old names. So Margaret Parangoski is Indian. Captain Keyes is black. Miranda Keyes is biracial. She's also a scientist rather than a ship commander. I don't know why, but
Not a fan of that.
they did that, yeah. We also have High Charity. That looks really nice, by the way. I know it's not quite as the way it was portrayed in Halo 2, but it looks really nice. Here we have Prophet of Mercy. That's the reason why he looks so old. Yes, some people thought he looks kind of crap. I think he looks all right. We also have this one human named Marquis, and there's been some theories floating around about her. And Xperia pointed out that the reason why she's appeared so revered here, why she's treated so reverently by Mercy, which is the second most powerful prophet in the Covenant, is that she might have been seen activating some sort of Forerunner technology once, which of course the Covenant worship, and the humans are able to control at will. And they thought that it was.
I could suggest an alternative thing.
Mm.
The Covenant thought that it didn't have to be her, just some random human activating Forerunner technology, and she is just a random human that was kidnapped to do this, because they could have chosen anyone.
Right. Regardless, though, I feel like she's treated a little bit too reverently, and this ties into what could be one of the biggest differences between the timelines, and that is who the Covenant are and what their main mission is. In the games, in the books, in the mainline timeline, the main timeline, the Covenant are going for complete extinction. They're going for that 100% achievement goal. Over here, though, the fact that they have a human within their society and treat it quite reverently is just sus. And the fact that later on we see a clip in the trailers which takes place later in the show where she says humans surrender or something like that to the Covenant. Yeah, the Covenant in the mainline books, the timeline, they would not say that. They don't ask for surrender. They want to kill you. So, from what I can tell, this Covenant may be completely different in its motivations and its reasons for the war. Although the elites they look pretty consistent with their mainline counterparts in the way they completely tore that village and murdered everyone, including the children, the old, everyone. So we'll have to see how that develops. Although again, that could be something huge. Um, but yeah, the technology seems all right. I mean, so this right here is a Condor. It's a supersized Pelican with FTL capabilities. The UNSC did have that in this time, 2552, but that was at the end of the war once they got the post-war technological developments. So with the timeline being truncated, they really shouldn't have this, nor should the Spartans have shields and such. Also it's heavily implied that the artifact that Chief discovers earlier was the first, this artifact right here was the first Forerunner artifact. That's, again, that would also happen very early in the timeline. So it's, yeah, the years and the technologies are kind of messed with, which kind of makes sense why they wanted to go with the diverging timeline, and so that they have the freedom to do whatever they want with the characters, with the times, with the dates, so that they wouldn't feel constrained. Now, what we see here is something that's been building, that's been stated before, and that's the relationship between the UNSC and the Insurrectionists, and how it's very strained. So over here, Keys is going to, point out how the elites completely destroyed Quad's settlement, and how she's gonna, she's gonna try to offer her a way to speak to the other colonies, and basically warn them about the aliens. Because again, like most people at this point in the war don't know about the Covenant, and most of the Indies are far more worried about the UNSC. And Qua's response is going to be rather telling. She's first of all, she still hates the UNSC massively, and she's going to tell him that she would rather she's going to tell people that the Spartans killed all those people and that they blamed it on the aliens, despite the fact that she saw all of her folks murdered by the aliens, but she hates the UNSC so much that she'll lie, just to slander the UNSC. So this, and I'm glad that they're portraying this early on. Although I was hoping they'd focus more on the Human Covenant War, but it is nice that they show this angle as well, because they're adding more depth to the story. So overall, our thoughts on the show. I feel like there's enough. It's not quite as bad as people portray it. People portray it as unilaterally bad. One of the down moments is lower moments is Chief's interactions with Qua in the Condor, especially when Chief takes off his helmet. Yeah, this part right here is just.
It's so every Halo fan knows that's bullshit. He would never do that.
Right.
Anything like that.
Nor do I think Chief would look like this. Chief would not have an unkept beard and mustache like that. Like, he would be clean shaven as a good military.
I'm not a fan of how he looks either.
I personally, I don't mind Pablo Schreiber as that much. I don't mind his voice.
I think how he's built, he makes sense, but I don't know. I didn't imagine his face looking like that.
Honestly, though, it's like that beard, that mustache, that should have gone. He should have been clean shaven like a good.
Go.
You see Navy SEALs, you see these guys when they're squared away, they look. I mean, obviously when they're deep undercover, they may have growths and stuff, but like when they're squared away, these guys are clean shaven and very well put together. So
actually, if you look at a lot of those images of Navy SEALs overseas, and
well, that's the thing when they're over. Yeah, when they're overseas and they're trying to.
They always have beards.
Right. Well, that's when they're overseas and they're trying to integrate. But when they're like when they're squared away, when they're in uniform, regardless, Chief should not look like. Yeah, he should definitely get rid of that facial hair. He just looks like he's. Yeah, he just looks like he's he's been cast off for like several days and has not been able to properly maintain himself. Regardless, though, this moment was kind of a downside for many folks, and hopefully the show gets better from here. But honestly, I feel like so far the reviews are mixed, but they're not unilaterally bad like many people have portrayed them. And I hope that the show does get better. It's got some good character moments. Some people have complained a lot about
the good character moments.
So some of the interactions with Halsey look pretty alright, especially when she's somewhat cheering Chief on when he's trying to escaping. Chief, of course, discovering the artifact was kind of cool, as well as taking out the elite.
What do you think of the de facto blue team, aka silver team?
Fake blue team. I don't I'm just kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
I just know,
But it's an
however good
alternate
they're
u-
gonna
it's an
be, I just know
alternate
that looking would have
universe.
been better. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree, but it's an alternate universe, so don't ruin Blue Team.
that's true. Regardless, um, hopefully the show does pan up. It does have some good little Easter egg moments that that are kind of nice. The
Yeah.
shield recharge effect, that was a nice callback. Uh,
There was also a few references to the books, which
right,
was
right.
nice.
Or the iconic "This cave is not a natural formation." That was pretty nice. Or when Chief grabs
Oh
it,
yeah,
or when Chief
that's the
grabs the
best one.
turret, and that was pretty cool as well. So overall, there's some good moments in the show. These small moments that show that there's a little bit of a little bit of soul. Hopefully, we'll get more of them throughout the show, but we'll see. Regardless, folks, thanks for watching. This has been another episode of the Orbital Drop Podcast. We'll try to get a better, more in-depth review with the rest of the crew. But so far, this has been CancelAnime and Corporal Hot Pockets. Thank you for watching.